What's up, guys? Zach here from the twdz zone, here to bring you a review of the mid-season finale of The Walking Dead. Not the episode we were expecting, for sure. There was so much build-up in the previous episodes. We all obviously were expecting some huge, epic, action-packed mid-season finale. 2, 3, and 4 were all pretty big, but obviously 5 still had its big, WTF moment with Beth. So, I think a lot of people might have been disappointed about the fact that for mid-season finale, it didn't have what we were expecting. We end off with them entering the herd. So we're going to be picking back up with a lot more action, hopefully at least, than we got in this last couple episodes. So let's take it from the beginning. We pretty much open on the tower falling, which we got the little clip of from last week's sneak peeks. And we see Rick knocked over from the impact, getting up and yelling at everyone to get back. And this is where we start to get to see some pretty, F yeah moments from some characters that up until now we, had been waiting for them to come around or get killed. For example, Father Gabriel, he took that hatchet and put Carl's train into use. Deanna also gets some pretty cool moments where she just starts shooting walkers off. And then she has that unfortunate moment where she hits that piece of farm equipment, gets that giant cut in her side, and the writers are kind of letting us think at this moment she could survive this. They could definitely treat that. Rick he picks her up and they keep moving on. We get that moment afterwards where Jesse then shoots a few walkers and they go running up the front steps and into Jesse's house. So we sort of have our little group now that gets trapped in Jesse's house, and this is the moment in the episode where the walkers have made it to the front door inside of Alexandria. There are a lot of mixed feelings about what happened with Deanna. I really liked her character. I like where they took her. I was on the fence about her at the end of season 5, which was such a big moment that both said a lot about who she was and brought up a lot of new questions about who she was that we had to wait until the season to answer, and I really liked the answers they gave us. So I was sad to see her go, but I think a lot of people were really, really let down by obviously how slow the pacing was in this episode, and specifically how much screen time they gave to her, Bob or Tyrese style drawn out death. And if you look at this as just another episode in the middle of 16 episodes of a season, it was a good episode 8, and there was a major character death, which, for some of us at least, was, really touching and said a lot about the themes from this first 8 episodes of the season. And this show really does move in 8 episode chunks, and we're gonna get a whole new series of themes in the next 8 episodes. The last 8 episodes of season 5 were all about how do we work with a new group of people that's basically been untouched, and they teased that a little bit when we met Father Gabriel in episode 2 of that season. But it was all about how do we both readapt, which was the obvious theme, and how do we reintegrate this new mindset that we can be safe in this safe zone. And in the second half, we get how do we reintegrate new people, and we get these moments with Deanna where she says to Rick, they're your people now, and she's been trying to convey this whole time. It's not an us versus them, which is extremely clear he has been thinking. So getting to sort of clear that up and her really sort of passing the baton was nice to see, to sort of tie up that thematic, yes, we can expand our group still. And they hadn't talked at all this season at all since premiere episode, where we have Daryl and Rick talking about whether or not it's worth going out and finding new people. We haven't seen them talk about bringing new people into Alexandria, so the theme of bringing new people in has really been more conceptually for our group. Can they bring new people in they benefit from protecting in some way? There were a lot of questions about that were raised during the season, and I think we got a lot of them answered through Deanna's death. And even her death itself was symbolic of tying off that theme, because Deanna represented past mindset, but now that I see what's happening, I'm ready to change my mindset. I'm ready to join in Rick's, new world and become a survivor. And even though she died herself, she went out with a bang, and I loved that. That actress, what an amazing job portraying this complex and conflicted, rich character, and somebody who is, aside from Herschel, one of the oldest characters we've seen portrayed on the show, which is just an interesting dynamic to throw in this late into the game where there's so much more you have to do to survive physically. But jumping back into the idea of the theme of can you help them become survivors in this new world, let's jump over to the Morgan and the Wolf storyline. So we've been wrestling with this the entire season. How do you try and bring this mindset of, an earlier mindset? What does it mean to hold him hostage? What does it mean to try and change him? And it looks like it's about to turn into something much bigger for next season. I really like Dr. Denise and the way she just kind of stood up for herself a little bit, relatively speaking, for her character. But there were so many moments as viewers where we know exactly where this is headed. They're clearly taking it where they're going to take it. This isn't even a let's set something up and then make a left turn, and it wasn't as satisfying to see the Wolf take over as it could have been. I mean, that could have been a real empowered villain moment, to really get us psyched for the next season. I'm excited to see what happens next season with Carol and Morgan, who are knocked out in the basement now. Rosita and Tara coming in to save the day. Not so much. They pass over the guns. They had the upper hand, and then what? Come on, you guys. We're gonna have to wait a few months to see how that pans out. The other main thing that happened in this episode is Maggie got separated from the group. Similarly to as another reviewer put it, season 4, everybody got split up. We're seeing everybody kind of get split up again. Home got destroyed, and everybody is getting compacted into these groups that have things they have to deal with on their own, and then eventually find each other, or what's left of each other. So Maggie is all by herself on that platform, and we don't get to see much of her, but we do see those balloons pass over by, which is, I guess, nice. She has some hope now that she's reminding Glenn's out there, and we do get to see Glenn and Enid trying to figure out a way in and a way to help, and we'll see how successful they are in a few months. We get our some conclusion for the Ron and Carl storyline. They made some of us who are following the comic storyline as well think something very big was going to happen with his character, and it didn't happen in this episode. They had multiple chances to make it happen in this episode, and they very clearly steered away from it. So whether or not that's to allow it to happen later in a different way, or whether or not this conflict was their homage to the comics, is yet to be seen. Obviously, in the comics, if you do the storyline, it happens for a very different reason, and by somebody else's hand. Got that moment where Rick asks him if everything is okay, and he's like, yeah, it's fine. And in that moment, the first time seeing it, I was just like, come on, you gotta say something. At this point, we learned back in season 2 or 3 that the last thing you do in this world is lie to the people who are most important to keep close. But he had the situation locked down. But at the end, we got our callback to both the comics and season 1 when they cover themselves in Walker Guts. Who didn't love to see that happen, and who didn't love to see Sam walk in on that happening? And I am loving the way Jessie is being portrayed. I know there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not it's doing the comic version justice, but I'm really liking the character they're developing, and the way she handles her son, the balance she has of trying not to shock him while also trying to help him slowly come into his own in his own way is really nice. Whether it'll work is yet to be seen. Obviously, it's causing some friggin' huge problems right now. And so that as they're leaving, he starts shouting "Mom," and that's where they cut out. Oh my God, what is he? Obviously, we know what he's thinking. He doesn't understand what's going on. That was so painful to watch, and then have them just cut out like that on us. So that's what I have to say today. We're going to come back at you with a longer, in-depth panel review of this episode. This is just what I have to say about the episode. We want to know what you have to say. Please subscribe, but also leave your comments. Leave your suggestions, leave your ideas for videos, leave your disagreements, leave things I missed out, leave things I got wrong, all in that comment box. We want to see it all, we want to hear it all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.